Are they here?
They're here.
Yay! Listen to them.
Back up. Howdy folks, welcome back to Black Sheep Meadow. I'm Brent.
And I'm Amber.
And we got a good one for you today.
We have a great one today.
So if y'all watched the past few of our videos, y'all know that we just recently finished the build on our chicken tractor.
Our second chicken tractor.
Second chicken tractor. And once again, we complained about inflation and how expensive everything's gotten. Today's the same story with our second brooder box that I just finished building this week.
Right. In the recent videos, we explained how we're raising our meat chickens different this year than we did in years past, which required 2 separate chicken tractors, and that means 2 separate brooder boxes. And Brent being able to build one for less than $55 is amazing, especially in today's economy.
Yep. So we're going to go over some of the ways that I was able to cut the cost down, some of the techniques that we're using to repurpose things on the homestead for the growth of the chickens as well. And we're going to get into that right now.
We're going to take you guys along with how we raise them this year and see how it goes.
Yep.
But let's get in closer to the brooder box so you guys can see how you can make one for less than $55.
Yep. All right guys, so we're filming in the barn today because it's like 30-mile-an-hour winds outside. So there might be a little bit of an echo in the barn, but I can promise you it's far better than the wind noise that we would get from being outside. Plus, this is where the brooder boxes are going to stay for the time that the chickens are going to be in here, which is going to be approximately 2 weeks. But let's go over what we got here. I started with, let's get some materials. I started with 2 3/8 sheets of plywood and 3 2x2 by 8 foot long. I also had a scrap piece of corral board that was also 4 foot that I made the door out of, or the lid, and a scrap piece of hardware cloth. This brooder box is basically 4 foot wide, the width of a sheet of plywood. I cut 3 foot off of it, which means it's going to be 5 foot long. I used the 3 foot remaining section for the lid on the back. The sides are going to be 18 inches. So there's actually a little bit of scrap plywood left over on this. If you can look on the inside here, every corner has a 2x2. The bottoms as well has scrap 2x2 in the middle, screwed down together. Everything's screwed bi-directional, so 2 different directions. Stays together quite well for this. If we look over here at our brooder box from last year, you'll see that we bought handles, and in our chicken tractor build we talked specifically about this, how these handles at a local hardware store are $7 a piece right now. I wasn't doing that. That'd be $28 for 4 handles just for one brooder box. Not happening. So if we look on this side, this is 18 inches worth of, I forget what it is. It's a rope. But basically I have less than $2 worth of rope, drilled 2 holes in the side of the deal, or in the side of the wall, and tied a knot on the inside. I have a handle now. Probably got 15 cents worth of rope in that. Same thing. The only real hardware we have on this is the door hinges themselves. Once again, for the lid, we use the 2x2, the scrap left over. There is no latch on this particular brooder box to hold this lid down. You could always put a weight like a brick or something like that on top of it. Our chickens are going to stay, or at least our baby chicks are going to stay in the barn during the first 2 weeks, and we don't have a problem with owls or fox or anything getting in here. So we're able to temperature control a little bit better, keep them at a regulated temperature instead of getting too hot or too cold. And this works quite well for $55 compared to anything that I've seen in a store. This is going to blow it out of the water. Truthfully, these will never be, at least in our environment, are never going to be exposed to the environment. So really, we should have 20-25 years plus out of these, if not the rest of our lives, however long that is. My main deal with these, because I want to keep them inside, was to be able to store them in the loft. And I don't know, maybe everyone can get a picture or view up there. I want to be able to store them up there in the season that we're not using these. Once again, these chickens, or the chicks, are only going to be in these brooder boxes for 2 weeks at a time, you know. So this spring chickens, we're going to have them in here for 2 weeks, and this fall we're going to have them in here for 2 weeks again. So that's 4 weeks this year. There's 48 weeks that these are not going to be in use on the homestead. So I need to put them out of the way, get them out of here, which is why I made them 18 inches tall. Outside of that, I'm going to let Amber go over what she's going to do with the babies.
All All right, guys, I'm gonna get you in here while I'm getting this ready for the baby chicks. So as Brent said, we expect these boxes to last us a very long time. The one fault we found with the first brooder box and the first year of using the brooder box is that with the manure load concentrated up here towards the front of the brooder box, we couldn't put enough shavings down to keep it from making it to the floor. So we noticed that that was a problem. There's a couple different options out there. People have tried putting linoleum down. We just see too many problems with that. We've seen that happen in deer stands where people have used linoleum and moisture gets underneath there in these types of environments. So we don't feel like that's a really good option for us, especially for long-term use. You could just leave the linoleum loose and then take it out and clean it. That might last it, but if you've ever dealt with linoleum, it'll get brittle. It's gonna end up something, we don't keep linoleum running around. So the idea that we came up with is I'm gonna use feed sacks. They are relatively waterproof. I've got them cut in half, or I cut the ends off and then I cut them down the middle. I'm gonna be able to lay it down across the bottom here in the front. I have a second side here, and I'm gonna let it lay here at the front where we keep the water and the feeder and the heat lamp, because that's where they concentrate the most. So we're gonna have water, we're gonna have food, we're gonna have a heat lamp, then they're gonna have room to get away from the heat lamp if they're too warm. Because it's Texas and we have bipolar weather, it'll be 50 degrees one day and 100 degrees the next. So they need to be able to get away from the heat lamp if they need to. Their little bodies don't regulate temperature very well right at this stage. So this was our idea. This is something that we will have over and over again on the homestead. We are not gonna run out of these at any time soon. And it's something that we can get rid of if it gets too dirty. It's also kind of cleanable. I really think this is gonna work for us. We're just gonna put the shavings directly over it and we're gonna go from there. So let me start getting the shavings down. Okay, so it takes a little bit more than a half a bag of shavings to put a good layer down at the bottom of these brooder boxes. Then we use some scrap wood that we have laying around, one longer one to put our feeders on, and then we have two shorter ones for the water. The heat lamp's gonna go on this side so they can get to their food, their water, and they can get away from the heat lamp if they need to, but it definitely makes that concentration of manure and waste right here at the front. So hopefully those liners down at the bottom will do the trick and keep that from rotting, hopefully. Okay, so we're gonna get our chicks in the brooder box and get them all set up for the next 2 weeks. We ordered our chicks from Cackle Hatchery again this year. They all arrived happy, healthy, and fully awake and ready to chow down. So I'm gonna get them in, just real quick, dip their beaks, put them by the food, and then get them in both brooder boxes, and they'll be set for a little while. There we go. That brooder box is full. We'll get the light put on this one and they'll be tucked in and ready to grow.
So it's noisy now, huh?
It's definitely noisy now. They are very, very active. They are eating, they are drinking, they are flapping around. This is the most active that they will be probably their whole life.
Yep.
And this is also the cutest they will be their whole life.
They get very ugly from here on out. So this is actually not bad. We're in these brooder box, in each brooder box, less than $55 each. Actually, I want to say it's around $53.50 actually is what I ended up paying for all the everything.
Right.
Everything minus the hardware cloth, really.
And speaking of the hardware cloth, so this was scrapped from building the chicken tractor, but this is something where you could actually use chicken wire if you have this in a secure location.
Correct.
Because those baby chicks aren't getting out.
Yep.
It's just more for ventilation.
Correct.
You want to have some good ventilation. In our neighborhood or in our zone, we're trying to keep them warmer than we are trying to keep them cooler. If you're in an area where the temperatures are a lot higher or it's the middle of summer, you might be more worried about ventilation. This box is really easy to modify for more ventilation.
Yep.
So keep that in mind. This is a really good idea.
Yep. So in the meantime, folks, we're going to say what we say every single week. Become more self-sufficient, less dependent on the system, become ungovernable.
Ungovernable.
We'll see y'all next week.
We'll see you guys next week.